Let's go!
So I made a little video about 4 months ago. It was right here, and it's called the Marvel vs. Capcom. I'm moving my face. The Marvel vs. Capcom bounty. And in this bounty, the goal was to solve a long-standing issue that comes to Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. The game has a huge problem with modded characters, and it isn't the fact that modded characters are being made at an absolute fantastic rate. It's the fact that a modded character in Marvel 3 can only exist by technically replacing another asset or another character. So if you have somebody like Ultron, who, with the use of all of his crazy, like, Ultron robots and his combos and stuff, he uses the tools of a character like Frank West. So Ultron is essentially using Frank West's character slot to exist. By doing so, a modded character, if not a modded roster of Ultimate Marvel 3, is hard to stand next to the original roster because it literally cannot share the same assets. So the bounty I put out back 3 to 4 months ago was for somebody to find a way to actually add additional character slots to the game so that these new modded characters do not have to take the place of existing Marvel vs. Capcom 3 characters, so that eventually we can have a game that'll support upwards of 90 to 100 characters all at the same time. That functionality in itself was nearly impossible. There was a lot of other things that have happened to UMVC3 for a long time now. The model importer was a big one that eventually got things moving along. But believe it or not, over the span of me putting out a $5,000 bounty for this essentially engineering miracle of an engine that people have no documentation on, of a game that has no essential dev tools, that everything is essentially reverse engineered and only is using in-game assets, that somebody could have the technical wizardry of to get in and find a way to add more character slots to the game. It has not been impossible in the past. People did it a long time ago for games like Smash Brothers Brawl. Smash Brothers has the, you know, in the same way that people have added rollback netcode to Smash Melee, those games have the, I'd say, the perk of having an absolutely massive audience where there are so many people that love Smash. Of course you are going to get some dude that's just, you know, an absolute genius that'll know how to do this shit and put in the time and do it for free. And I didn't want to wait on that. I want to support what these guys in the modding community have done, and I'll actually put some money down. And if somebody can figure this out, this is the reward to do so. And I'm happy to say, as of yesterday, the bounty was claimed. And the due diligence is finished. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 now supports multiple more character slots. Eventually, there will be a path in the game to support all the characters of the original roster, as well as the new characters that have been added and more characters in the future. So let's just quickly go over it and show off what exactly it is and what's happening and how this is the beginning of it. It's not everything, but it is the beginning of it. So the person to do it was Genesis, and you can check them out on Twitter. There's a couple of videos that Genesis put up of the entire process going all the way back to like February when the work was still being done, and you can sort of get an idea of how it's working here. The first sign is that Dante and DMC1 Dante, which are different characters, would be on the same character slot. And now they can actually fight side by side. They can be on the same team, which was not possible before. That was a new thing. So now, yep, DMC1 Dante actually has his DMC1 Dante moves. And when you swap out to DMC3 Dante, which is the original character, he doesn't do DMC1 Dante stuff. Found a way to do it. However, this wasn't the end of it, and at this point, the bounty was not paid out in February because challenges were still in the works. And the biggest challenge at this time is that there were some issues, right? certain characters that use the actual functionality, like I said, Frank West and Ultron, still did not work. And that took a while. There were some really specific characters that were weird, that needed some extra loving. And no kidding, that took like 3 months to get this stuff online. It took like 4 straight months of just working on this stuff to eventually get to the tool, to a point where there's a functional tool. And as of yesterday, and now in the hands of all the people that make Marvel 3 mods, here we go. Ultron, with all of his assists selectable, cool, and Frank West selectable. And there you go. It's actually happened. Frank West and Ultron functioning together on one team at one for a very long time, and for the majority of this game's life, an absolute impossibility. So it's been done. So the obviously this isn't what I think a general audience would be excited for. Anybody that is in a general audience situation, what you're expecting is something much different, right? Oh yeah, it's working in arcade mode. Literally doing all this stuff in arcade mode, and it's working, which is, I think, not possible in the past either. The reason why this is such a big deal is because it allows for characters to exist alongside each other, but it isn't very marketable. This is a back-end thing that nobody really would be bothered by. But what this does is allow there to be cohesion with the previous game and what people are adding to the game now. So what it's not is a character select screen. It is not that. It isn't a complete revamp of this interface. All this kind of stuff, that is all relative like fluff and a lot of work and a completely different skill set. That is something entirely different than getting this background thing finished and fixed, which has been holding up the community forever. Because at this point, it was like, oh, well, we want the functionality of this character. Well, I can't use the functionality of this character because it's occupied by this other character. We're just dead end, right? Completely dead-ended by in creativity. So that's what, right? That's what I wanted to solve, to essentially open up the creativity of the modders to have access to infinite possibility, right? So that was the point of this. In the future, will that stuff exist? Maybe, right? Would I like to possibly commission that stuff to exist at some point in the future as well? You know what? Yeah, I think I might, right? We can evaluate what are the next big steps that'll really push this game and allow people to be even more creative. I think an animation importer is maybe the next thing that could really, really make Marvel 3 shine. But as you can tell, I think we see from the character select screen here, there's I don't know what button is selected. One of you guys will have to tell me that is an actual like modder on this stuff, but there's a button that switches and it goes from Shenko, like a secret character, over to Ultron, right? It's below Shenko. Gotcha. So it's technically a hidden, like a hidden icon a la Akuma in X-Men versus Street Fighter. I get you. So it's just scrolling past her. So at some point, we'll figure something out. There will be something discoverable in the future that'll allow a clear selection of all the characters in a way that makes sense on the character select screen. So whether or not that's like, secret selecting or whatnot, I have no idea. And that's not something that I really want to delegate too much. But absolutely, that's something that would be cool, very cool for the future, is giving the characters their proper icons, turning a page, all that kind of stuff. You know what? That all sounds very cool. But managing and manipulating the character select screen is a completely different thing that would have to get figured out. One of the biggest issues of Ultimate Marvel 3 has been solved. A huge shout out to Genesis for doing it and putting in the time to make it happen. So I'm happy to say that there will be a lot of really interesting developments in the future. I don't know if any of these tools immediately are going to benefit you guys as of like right now, for people that just download this stuff off Game Nexus and whatnot. I don't know if this is going to affect you guys right now, but this is back-end stuff that has been holding up stuff for a very long time, for years, right? And now that this is solved, it'll make the future mods down the line significantly better and much cooler. Stay tuned. There will be more dope stuff to come from the future of Ultimate Marvel 3. And if it takes, you know, a little bit of a push every once in a while from someone in my very lucky position to make this stuff happen for the future of Marvel vs. Capcom, you know what, I'll do it.